Hey there, Java Junkies. Happy New Year. Hope you had a fantastic holiday break, and I want to wish each and every one of you an incredible 2019. And I hope that you'll be able to take your mental and your physical health to the next level, and of course your energy too, so that you can become the best version of you this year. And if you need some extra inspiration to kickstart your new health regime, your exercise and nutrition, getting more sleep, and maybe some meditation, which I highly recommend, you are welcome to check out the Wellness, Health, and Self-Care section of T4C. You can find it on our homepage at time4coffee.org. Just scroll down until you see all the boxes showcasing various professions and go to the bottom and you'll see Wellness, Health, and Self-Care, where we've organized all the episodes we've done with the experts in that space, and they're just waiting for you to listen to them. In the spirit of the new year, I have an exciting new promotion to offer Java Junkies, especially those of you who are still in college. For the very first 100 people who email me, I will send you a mini version of our very first T4C ebook called Spilling the Beans. It features 5 amazing T4C guests. If you're already a T4C fan, then you know that one of the very last questions I try to ask almost all my guests is, if you could go back to college and do it all over again, but based on the wisdom you have now, what advice would you give yourself? Well, unless you're a die-hard fan, and I hope you are, and plan to listen to each of the dozens and dozens of interviews I've done to date, I thought it would be really useful to college students, those in school right now, to have the answers to that question from a wide range of T4C guests all in one place. And so we've done just that. We've done the hard work for you. And so all you have to do is send me an email to Andrea at time4coffee.org and say, I'd love a copy of the mini version of Spilling the Beans. I'd also love to know how you learned about the T4C podcast and what professionals or professions you'd like me to feature on a future episode. This promotion is going to run until we've heard from 100 Java Junkies, so make sure to email me as soon as possible. What a great way to start the spring semester, with the wisdom from 5 T4C guests as to what they'd be doing, what they'd be studying, what they'd be experiencing in terms of the extracurriculars, the clubs, the fraternities or sororities or whatever it is, if they could go back to college and do it all over again. Just shoot me an email at Andrea at time4coffee.org and we will send you a copy for free. And before we start today's show, I just want to say how incredibly grateful I am to have the opportunity to do what I do. I am so grateful to know that T4C is helping so many young people get a jump start on creating the kind of careers they want to have. So thank you from the bottom of my coffee cup for listening to T4C, and I hope you enjoy the show. Hi there, I'm Andrea Koppel, and it's Time for Coffee, the podcast where you get to hear firsthand what the jobs and careers that interest you the most are really like. Hey there, Java Junkies! Hope life is treating you well. And if it isn't, firstly, I want to say I am truly sorry that that's the case. But secondly, I promise you it will pass. It always does. Just put your head down and keep putting one foot in front of the other. That's what I'm doing, and that's what I do, and trust me, it works. So does a good night's sleep and doing something fun with friends or by yourself. And of course, if all else fails, a delicious Gibraltar espresso drink can help boost your mood. I just discovered them the other day at Dolcezza, my favorite neighborhood coffee bar. And if you haven't tried one and you like the taste of espresso, yum! Of course, I get mine with almond milk, so I don't have to deal with dairy, but that's a whole nother story. But it doesn't matter what caffeinated beverage you're quaffing today, so long as it works for you, because it's time for another caffeinated career conversation. My guest today is Sanam Rastegar, a senior associate at McLarty Associates, a boutique consulting firm in the field of private sector diplomacy, and in this role supports president and co-founder Nelson Cunningham, along with McCarty's New York-based financial advisory practice. Prior to joining McLarty Associates, Sanam interned at Hermes of Paris, McLaren, and the Independent Talent Group. She speaks fluent Farsi and French, is proficient in Mandarin, and speaks Spanish conversationally. Sanam, welcome to Time for Coffee. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me. Excited to be here with you.
Well, I am excited to have you, and I have to ask you the requisite question, Sanam. Are you caffeinated and ready to go?
I am caffeinated and ready to go, but I must say I actually don't drink coffee. So I'm a tea person. But in this specific occasion, I did treat myself to a cup of coffee, as I thought it was only fitting.
Wonderful. Well, actually, this week, I interviewed the co-founder of Honest Tea, and he too is a tea coiffer, as you might imagine. So
I'm glad I'm not alone.
You are definitely not alone. So Sanam, because we are starting with the espresso shots, I'm going to come right at you with these questions, one right after the other. The first one being, what entry-level jobs are available to young people who are eager to break into the field of strategic advisory?
I would say there are two entry-level roles. The first would be the assistant or the associate role, which is what I came into. And that was serving as the assistant to the president of McLarty Associates. Those are generally more admin-focused jobs, but really give you that inside look at how these companies are operated and the work that the senior leadership is doing. The second entry-level role would be more research-focused. That might be either before or after you've obtained a master's degree as well, and coming in on the research side, focusing on a specific topic or region.
Great. What about a useful skill or skills that you know, in the case of McLarty Associates, they look for in the entry-level positions that they're hiring for?
This has been at the front of my mind for the past few months because I actually just finished the hiring process for my replacement. And I would say three things really stood out to me for useful skills in this role. And the first is being personable. There's so much interaction between our clients and our teammates, and it's really great when you can have someone who's engaging and personable. Secondly, the ability to multitask. There's a lot happening here all the time, and being able to juggle a lot of balls at once is really crucial. And lastly, attention to detail. There's, like I said, so much happening at any one time, and making sure to be on top of those small details is quite key.
Wonderful. What about someone's major? You mentioned the graduate degree for researchers, but what about for someone who wants to break into this field? Does it matter? Are you seeing through the application process that if you're an English major versus an international relations major, that would be a determining factor in getting hired?
There's certainly no deal breaker, at least not as we conduct our hiring process. That being said, we naturally see a lot of political science and international relations majors because we are a consulting firm, but we also operate at this cross between business and policy. So it's really exciting for people to want to work here when they like and enjoy studying what's happening in the world and how it affects business. But I don't think having a different major, being a history major, an English major, or even being a science major would preclude you from having this type of role.
And what about a graduate degree? In order to succeed in the field, what is your sense, Sanam? Is it important? Is it critical to have that?
I do think it's critical. I'm personally of the view that further study is critical for long-term success. But in this field, our senior leadership is a team of former lawyers, diplomats, trade negotiators, and they've all had a lot of amazing experiences, but they've also received their master's degrees, whether in business law or in a master's in international relations. Mm-hmm. And I think you need that to be able to dive in. And at the end of the day, deep expertise is what matters most. So if you have an amazing work experience, it might get you there. But that further study, I do think, is quite key.
I see from your resume, and as I said in the introduction to you, you speak at least 3 languages fluently, a 4th proficiently, and you're conversational in your 6th. How important are life experiences such as learning different languages or fill in the blank to break into this field?
I think they're quite important. I would say languages for me were a deciding factor in my major and in my interests as well, learning about different countries and cultures and people. And that's what led me to this role. And I think it's what makes me successful in my role. That being said, I would also say if you have the fortune of being able to travel, whether that's with family and with friends, by yourself, or through a study abroad program, I also think that's a brilliant way to prepare yourself for a role like this, where you're going to be interacting with a lot of people from different parts of the world.
Sanam, you are now a senior associate at McLarty. By the way, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You were an associate and assistant. What is the best part for you of being in a strategic advisory firm?
If you don't mind, I might narrow that down to the best part of being in this firm in my role specifically, and that is the people. I think the people that we have at this firm are just top notch. You're surrounded by stars in the diplomatic community, in the business world, and actually getting to interact with them on a daily basis and learn from them. And specifically in my role, I think the best way to say it is that I got to be a sponge for 2 years and really absorb everything around me and learn from these incredible people. So I would say that's the best part of this role and this industry.
And the downside?
I would say the downside might have to be scheduling a call between 4 different time zones. That's never easy. And once you get really good at scheduling or planning trips, then your family might take advantage and ask you to plan the family trip. But I think like any role, there's a lot of admin that's not always fun to do. But I think admin is always an important part of any role you have, no matter what stage of your career. And it's an important foundation to have. It helps you be more successful when you can take care of all those small tasks efficiently and well.
And I'm also guessing you'll be much more empathetic when one day you have an admin working for you.
Definitely.
Sanam, what is the best career advice you've ever gotten?
My boss, Nelson, always says it pays to advertise. And for me, I've taken that to heart in 2 ways. One is the very career-focused way. So advertise your firm and your team's capabilities. If you're meeting with someone about your capabilities in Africa, mention that you have capabilities in Vietnam and Latin America, because you never know 5 months down the line, if their company has an issue, they'll keep you at the front of their mind that, oh, Sanam from McLarty mentioned that they have this skill set. But I've also tried to make that a bit more personal, and that don't be shy to promote yourself either. Advertise yourself in the right way, because you have accomplished great things and you will continue to accomplish great things. And don't be afraid to brag about yourself in the right way, so that when people think back to their interactions with you, you really stand out in their minds as well.
Great advice. Thank you so much for sharing. Sanam, what movies, or for that matter, television shows, or fill in the blank, fiction books, do you think accurately depict this profession?
I actually don't think there are any, because this is a pretty new field in a way. Our firm is 20 years old now. We're in our 20th anniversary. And I think we're one of the pioneers in this strategic advisory, diplomatic solutions type space. I would maybe say a blend of TV series and movies that are policy oriented, probably maybe less drama, but think Designated Survivor and the West Wing, all these political shows, and then maybe something that's a little more business oriented.
Okay, fair enough. And final espresso shot. What would Java junkies be surprised to learn about this profession?
I think what surprised me the most was the fact that we can take our work and our capabilities here and apply them to some really different things that you wouldn't expect, and specifically to the film and entertainment industry. We have a practice here called McLarty Media, where we advise on film scripts and help producers and film crews gain their rights to film in a certain country or a region. We just worked on actually Designated Survivor. We worked on the Mission Impossible movie, and I had no idea coming into this that we would be interacting with film teams in the entertainment industry. So I think that's a pretty surprising fun fact.
Yeah, that actually sounds like it would be a lot of fun. Have you gotten to meet any stars?
I have not yet, but we do have some film screenings. We have one coming up for Mile 22 on, I think, next Monday or Tuesday. So I'm banking that maybe one of these days at these premieres, I can run into someone. One of our teammates did see Tom Cruise at the Mission Impossible premiere, which was quite cool.
Super cool. And my son just saw it. My 14-year-old son, he said it was awesome.
Oh, great.
So,
good to know. I will report back.
Excellent. Well, Sanam Rastegar, thank you so much for making time for coffee with me and the Java Junkie community today. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a delight.
Thanks so much for listening to Time for Coffee, where the professionals in the jobs that most interest you always have time to grab coffee 24/7, no matter where you live. I have one quick favor to ask you. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to Time for Coffee. Thanks so much.